guys, it's Olivia, and today I'm gonna be doing my Netflix recommendations because we all know it's kind of just that time where we all have a lot of time to watch Netflix because of this whole quarantine thing going on. So I decided I would give you my recommendations for TV shows that I thought were really, really good, and I think y'all would enjoy it too. Also, I'd like you to pardon my hair. We're in the mid process. It'll get a lot better. This is just after the first bleaching and we ran out of bleach, so we have to get more, so we can't finish it right now. So I know there's some banding and it's a mess, but just try to ignore that, please. Please. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so the first TV show that I'm gonna talk about is Atypical. A lot of you have probably heard of Atypical. It's probably not that underrated, but it's about this boy who is autistic, and it kind of just centers around his life and about everything he goes through. It's a really, really good show. I love it. Like, my whole family kind of loves it. We watched it together and it was really good. And the new season's really good because it has some really good disability representation and some LGBT representation in there too, which we all know I love. So overall, it's a really, really good show and I totally recommend it. So the next show is Champions. It's also on Netflix. Now this one is a little bit more underrated. So this one is about a guy who has this ex-girlfriend that he has a kid with, and he runs a gym with his brother. Well, one day his ex-girlfriend and his son show up and is like, it's your turn to watch him, and he has to go through the whole thing of taking care of a child. It's a very good show. It's very funny. It's very like lighthearted. It's an easy show to just binge. But yeah, I totally recommend Champions. Next we have American Horror Story. I love myself some American Horror Story. Period. So American Horror Story, I think a lot of you know what it is, but if you don't, it's pretty scary. So if you don't really do good with scare and gore, I would not recommend it. But if you do, then I definitely recommend it. Each season is like a different storyline. So while they do all connect, you don't have to watch it in order. I didn't. I started with Freak Show, which is season 6. Personally, my favorite seasons: Murder House, Freak Show, Roanoke, and Asylum. Those I think are the 4 best in my personal opinion. The other ones are okay. I couldn't get through Cult or Apocalypse. They just really didn't do it for me. But American Horror Story is great, and I totally recommend it to anyone because I love it with all my heart. Definitely a great show. Next we have On My Block, another one that I'm sure all of you have heard of already. It's a good show. I do recommend it. There's 2 seasons, I believe. It's about these 4 group of kids who live in a poor neighborhood, and they kind of go through a bunch of like obstacles, and it's really funny and it's just fun to watch. I enjoyed it. Next we have One Day at a Time. One Day at a Time is such a good show, bro. Like, I love it so much. It's about this Cuban family who lives in this small apartment because the mom's working like multiple jobs, and they live with the grandma, and it's just about their life and about like how like kids go through like discovering things, and the daughter is a very big political advocate, and the son he's just funny. It's overall, it's a hilarious show, and it's really just like, it's like a good like lighthearted, like I've said about all these, it's a good lighthearted like fun watch. Next we have Jane the Virgin. Jane the Virgin, bro, it's so good. That's another one that I've like binge watched 100 times. It's about a girl who accidentally gets artificially inseminated with another man's child. She goes into the doctor just to get a regular checkup and leaves the doctor pregnant. And then it has to do with her situation of like meeting the guy who is the baby's father and living with her own boyfriend, and it's a long show. So, and each episode's like 45 minutes, and they're all narrated by this hilarious Latin narrator, and he's so funny. Overall, the show is amazing and great, and I love it. Also, forgot to mention, if I look down, I have a whole list right in front of me, so that is why I apologize. Okay, next we have The Fosters. I put my favorites on here, guys. Like, these are like my absolute favorites, like ride or die. The Fosters is really good. It's about a family who has fostered a couple of children and has adopted them, and then they get these 2 new children in, and basically just how they deal with things, and there's a lot of obstacles. Now this is a lot less lighthearted. It's very deep, and there's a lot of like heavy concepts like drugs and abuse and things like that, but overall it's a really, really good show and I would recommend it. Next we have New Girl. Now New Girl is probably the funniest show on this list. No, it is not, but it is close to the funniest show on this list. And it's just very like lighthearted. It's about a girl who moves into this apartment of all boys, and like she falls in love with one of them, and then the other ones like fall in love with her, and it's just funny and it's just a good watch. There's a lot of seasons and it's kind of like Friends. I think it gives me a Friends vibe, yeah, where it just kind of just goes on the same thing, but they make it interesting in every episode, so it's definitely like worth watching. Next we have The Good Place. The Good Place is such a good show, bro. Like, top notch. The Good Place is about this girl who dies, who passes away, and she goes up to heaven, and she just kind of experienced what heaven is, except she got accepted for someone that isn't her. Another person with the same name as her. I'm not explaining this well. I'm sorry. It's such a great show, and I think there's 2 or 3 seasons, and the actors are really, really good. The lead actor, Kristen Bell, is really, really good at acting, and it's just a really good show, and I would definitely recommend it. Next, we have a pretty oldie, the 70s show. It's funny. It's an easy watch. It's kind of like that show you can leave on in the background and like do other things, which a lot of these shows are because that's what I watch, so that's what I can recommend. You need a quick watch, something to pass your time. 70 shows where it's at. It's funny, lighthearted. Next, we have Great News, which is hilarious. It's about this girl who works at this news company as like an editor, and like she's pretty high up. And then her mother decides to get a job there as an intern, and she does not love it. And the mother is very funny and like fun-loving, and she is not. So it's kind of about that conflict and about how that situation is in the workplace, and it's really, really funny, and I really recommend it. Next, we have Young and Hungry. I love this show, and it's another thing I've seen a couple times, and it's an easy binge watch. It's about this girl who is a chef and starts cooking for this really like rich and professional guy, and like they kind of fall in love, and then there's like the quirky sidekicks. It's a pretty basic show, but it's funny, and it's the girl who plays Lily from Hannah Montana, so obviously it's good. Like, obviously. Next we have Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I love this show. That show is one of the funniest shows I've ever seen, and Titus Burgess, I said that name wrong, is one of my favorite actors of all time. Like, I love him to death and back. He's my Netflix icon. Yeah. He's so wonderful. So, so wonderful. But the show is about this girl who was trapped in a bunker, and she was one of the mole women, and gets out of the bunker and moves to New York City and moves in with Titus and another lady who lives upstairs, and it's kind of about her life now going into the real world, because now she's an adult with having no experience because she was kidnapped at like 14. But it's really funny, really lighthearted, really easy watch. Next we have SheBra. This one's a little bit different than the other ones on the list because it's a cartoon, and normally I don't like cartoons because they're just not for me, but I watched this one and I loved it. I'm a lot like the character Glimmer, if you have seen it. It's about this girl. All of these are about this girl and this guy, so I apologize for that. But it's about this girl who gets a sword and becomes the character of She-Ra. It's old. It's like it's a remake of an old thing, and then she becomes She-Ra, and she gets Glimmer and Bo as her 2 sidekicks, and they fight like villains and stuff. It's really good. It's really, really, really good. And then there's some like gay stuff going on, which I really like. But next we have Mr. Iglesias. This is the funniest show on the list. Hands down, no debate. It's a quick watch. I think there's only like a season or 2. It's hilarious. It's about Gabriel Iglesias being a teacher at the school, and his comedy. Obviously, he's a hilarious comedian, so you would expect his shows to be great. And overall, it's just really, really funny and really good. Next we have H2O. Bro, this was my show when I was younger, and if you haven't seen it, like, you really do need to go see it because it's so good. It's about these 3 mermaids who like become mermaids one night, and they don't know how to handle it, and it's about like their life, like hiding it from everyone else. Bro, that's so good. I love it. That also has to do with the fact when I was younger, I was convinced I was going to turn myself into a mermaid. So I have like mermaid tails and like stuff like that because I'm kind of a dork. And then the last TV show on the list is The Good Cop. The Good Cop is so good. So basically, it's about this guy who is a detective, and they find this murder case, and the only two people that can be suspects are this man and his father. Not the man, like a different man, not the man who's the detective. A different man or the detective's father, and it's kind of just about that because the detective's father is an old detective who was kicked off the force and because of drug issues, and it's really, really interesting. It's a little bit like that. This isn't the show you can watch in the background, like you kind of have to give it your attention because of what's going on, but besides that, it's really, really good. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications, and I'll see you next time. Bye!